Hello everyone, in this video what we are going to see is HTTP trigger. Along with we are going to cover filter array, which is a data operation. If you are new to our channel, hit subscribe. Your subscribe will motivate me to produce more video in better quality. First of all, let me explain what is a HTTP trigger. In our earlier video we have saw about recurrence trigger, meaning like which will trigger on a particular time. For this HTTP trigger, logic app will generate a URL, and once we call this URL, this logic app will get triggered. We can call this URL from anywhere. Let's say for example from Azure Data Factory, or a button click in the web application, or you can call it from another logic app as well. For this video, for testing purpose, we are going to call this URL from Postman application. Now let's get started with designing the logic app. This logic app we have created from our earlier videos. If you don't know how to create a logic app, please watch my introduction video about it. Now let me open the logic app. You will get a pop-up something like this. Just close this and navigate to logic app designer. So in designer only we are going to design our logical workflow, and here just scroll down. For this video I'm initially going with a blank logic app. Under built-in you have various options, just expand this, and here if you find HTTP is there and then request is there. For this video we are going with the request. HTTP we will cover in a separate video. Let me go to request. This is the first type of trigger which is available under the request. When a HTTP request is received, so whenever we are getting a request, this logic app will be triggered. So let me select this and let me minimize the unwanted tab. Okay, and here if you see, it is clearly saying that URL will be generated after we save. Let me save this. Once you save it, you will be getting a URL. So what you need to do is just copy this and go to your Postman. So Postman is a tool where you can interact with this kind of API with the Postman only. So this is a tool, you can install it. I'll be providing the URL in the video description to install this Postman application. And here if you see, you have option to specify the method type. So here it is like initially by default it is HTTP post. So what we need to do is we need to select here post, and we need to provide our URL whatever we copied from there. And if we send the request, our logic app will get triggered. So let me go here, and if you want to pass some JSON to this API via post, then you can use this option, which means from the Postman here if you go to body, you have option to send a JSON from here. Let's say for example you want to save some JSON file to Cosmos DB via HTTP trigger. So in that case what you can do is you can just go here and select type as JSON and provide your JSON, and this will trigger our logic app. And you need to design your logic app to save whatever the value we pass via the body to Cosmos DB. That logic we need to design it, but for this video we are not going to do that. I'm just going to explain how HTTP is going to work. So now let's say for example if we want to send a request body, in that case what you need to do is just provide the schema of the request body over here. If you finding difficult to provide the schema, what you can do is just use this option, use sample payload to generate the schema. So just use this option, paste the JSON, sample JSON over here, and it will automatically generate the schema of the request body. As I said earlier, by default it is going to be post. What if we want to get from this API, instead of posting some request, we want to use get? So whenever we are calling this HTTP, we need to get some response from this logic app. So how to do that? Here if you see, you have optional parameters, method and relative path. So let me select this method, and there are various method you can switch to. By default it is post, and here you have get, put, patch and delete. I'm going with get, and now we need to send some response, right? Because we are defining it as get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send some response. In order to do it, just select this and add an action. Go here under built-in. Let me expand this and go to request again. Initially we went to triggers and we selected. Now we are under action, and here if you see, response is there. Let me select this, and you can set the status code whether you want to specify as 201 or whatever the response code you want to set. And here you can send some response to it. So let's say for example I'm just typing as successfully called the HTTP endpoint. So this is the response we get from our API. And if you want to pass some JSON, you can do it, because this is a GET request. We can specify a body to it. And now let's give a try on how this works. So I'm going to save it. Let me copy the URL again, and initially we specified as post. Now we are going with get, and here let me paste my URL. I'm not going to pass any request body over here. Simply I'm sending it. See, we are getting whatever the response we have set it over there, right? That we are getting over here. And to verify how this logic, because you couldn't see those tick mark and all here, right? So in order to see it, just expand this and go to overview. And here if you see, it got triggered. Forgot about this earlier trigger. These are not triggered by me while testing. Just select this, and here you can see the complete logic. So what is the input? It is a get method and the response. Now let's switch back to designer. Let's see what are the other options available under this. You have one more optional parameter, which is relative path. With this you can set a relative path. So let me show what this relative path is going to do. Let me type as cloud tech. Before saving, I'm just copying the existing URL. I have given the relative path. Let me save it. After saving, let me copy the URL and let me paste over here. The difference you could find here is the relative URL is being added over here. So in case if you want to mention some kind of path, you can specify something like this with relative path. So this will be useful. Let's say for example you designing an API with multiple endpoints for different application, then you can have your application name over here. So this will help you to organize your APIs. We have seen about both of these optional parameters, and we are sending a response as well in the response body. Now what we are going to do is we are going to pass a value via a query string, and for that value we are going to fetch a specific value, and we are going to return it to the response. Let me show how to do. First of all, let's return a response. So what I'm going to do is add action. Here I'm going to create one variable. In order to do it, I'm going under built-in. Under built-in, you will find variables. Go with initialize variable. Let me provide a name to the variable. I'm providing it as source. Let's say for example you can design your logic to get the data from Azure Blob or Cosmos DB as well. As of now I'm just simply hard coding this value. So what I'm going to do is simply I'm going to specify my variable type as object, which is for JSON, and I'm going to paste a JSON over here. So this JSON you can have it in your Blob or Cosmos DB, it's up to you. For this experiment alone I'm just having something like this hard coded. And if you go to this URL you will find a sample response. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply copying it. So I just need a JSON, copying it. Okay, so this is the JSON we have, and here if you see we have page number. These and all are not at all required for us. So what we need is under data, we have various, this is an array. Data is an array, and inside this you have various values for each of the IDs. Value ID 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. First, let us try to receive this response via get request. What I did here is I have created a variable with the type as object, and I have a JSON over here. So simply let's return the JSON in the response. So what you can do is you can simply go here and in the body just remove the existing content and select the variable name. So simple. If you save it and call our API, it is going to return the particular JSON what we have set there. See, we are getting everything. My requirement is that I need to pass the ID whichever I want. Let's say for example I want ID number 12. I need to pass that ID in the query string, and this API needs to provide me only the value for this particular ID 12. So that is my requirement, and it should ignore rest of the item. So how to do that? Now let's get back to our logic app. I'm going to create one more variable. So in this variable what we are going to do is we will keep only this particular array alone. So whatever the items under data, because these and all are not at all are required for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fetch only this particular array, and I'm going to save it in a variable. So let's see how to do it. So simply go here and add a action, go under built-in variables, initialize a variable. Let me provide a name to the variable data array. And here if you see the task name are a bit confusing, right? So let's rename them. I'm going to keep the same here, and for the first variable as well, let me copy this and paste it. See, the task name got renamed. Now here the array, here the type is initially boolean, so I'm going to switch it to array. What I need to do, I need to fetch the array part from this variable. So how to do that? Just select this and go here, simply type variables in bracket in single quotes, just provide your variable name. Which variable I need to read from this source JSON. So let me copy this one as well. Let me go back here, under value, go to expression and type variables, single quotes. Here what it is saying that what are the value we have in this particular variable, fetch it. But we don't want that. We want only the data part, right? We don't want this part. We want only this item inside this array. So how to do that? Question mark in square brackets, single quotes, provide this particular value here, data, right? We want data, so put it as data. So this is the syntax. So initially it may look like something like this, but once you get used to it, you can do it very easily. Let me click on OK, and that's it. So whatever the value inside this particular data is now available under data array. Now let's save this. Let me copy this URL to our Postman as well as in a notepad. As I told earlier, we need to pass ID via query string, and we need to filter out the array. So in order to do it, let me show how to pass a parameter as a query string. So in order to do it, just add and provide a name to the query string. I'm providing a selected ID equal to 12. I need to retrieve only the value of this particular ID 12. So I'm passing it as 12. Let me copy this and put it in Postman. Now we need to change our logic to read this particular ID from the query string. So in order to do it, let me switch to logic apps. Here, once the request is received, I'm going to add a one more variable. Let me initialize a variable, and I'm providing, let me name the task as well, and the type is going to be string. Since it is query string, initially receive it as string type. Later we will convert this to integer because this ID is an integer, so we need to convert it. We will do it later. As of now, let it be string. And here you can select queries, but we want to pick up a specific query string, right? So in order to do it, go to expression and type trigger output square bracket queries in single quote. This is a syntax to read a query string. So let me show in a simple way. Let me copy this first. Let me erase this. Let me go to dynamic content. This queries is there, right? Just select this and click outside, and if you keep a mouse over, it will clearly show this syntax output, and then in queries in single quote. So same we are going to type it in expression because we need to filter out a specific query string. I'm providing it here. In order to filter out a specific query string, just provide that particular query string over here, simple in single quotes. That's it. Let me go here and copy this query string parameter. So this is simple. That's it. Let me save it. So whatever the value we pass it in the query string, it will be available in this particular variable. Now we have an array and we have the ID which we need to filter out. So how to do a filter? It's so simple. Just go here, add an action, go under built-in. Here you will find a data operation. With this data operation, you can do various operation related to JSON, CSV. So multiple option is there. For this current requirement, we need to filter out our array, right? So just select it and array to filter. Which array I need to filter? Which is data array, right? So let me select it. And now in that array, what I need to read, right? So anyway, this array is there, this particular whatever we are getting. In this array, what I need to read? I need to read this ID, right? Where ID equal to 7 or 12, whatever. So I need to pick up this ID. So in order to do it, go here, choose a value, go under expression, type as item, and here put a question mark, square bracket, ID in single quotes. That's it. For that, in that particular array, for that ID, I need to filter out, right, based upon the query string. And which is our query string? This particular ID 12, which we have it in our variable. We cannot pass the query string as it is because initially I said that we need to convert the query string to integer, because in our JSON ID is an integer, it is not a string. So in order to do that, just click on this. Here go to expression. Here what we need to do is look for conversion function. Under this integer, convert the parameter to integer. Just select this, and which parameter we need to do? Variables, right? Variables. And which variable we want? In single quotes, we need to specify which variable we are going to filter, which is this one. Let me copy this and let me do it again. And that's it. Just click on OK and let's save it. On the final change, we need to do it in response. Here in response, remove this JSON. Now whatever we are getting in this particular filter, we need to send it, right? Here you find filter array, the body of it. Let me select it, and that's it. Let's save and run. Let me go here, and I'm going to call it. See, we are getting only that specific ID. Now let me try to pass ID 7. See, that's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the code part of this particular logic app. I'm going to post this in Telegram group. So with this JSON, you can simply copy paste whatever the JSON I'm going to provide in your logic app, and you can check it, or you can just put it in a notepad, and you can see whatever the syntax we have used. So everything you can get it from here. Hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching this video. If you find this video helpful, just subscribe my channel and don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn to stay connected. Bye bye.